Communicating in person is different from communicating online. When you communicate with someone face to face, you can hear their tone of voice, see their facial expressions, body language, and hand gestures. These methods of communicating cannot be relied upon in the online environment. Following the online communication guidelines can assist you in being a successful online learner. In this overview of online communication, we'll discuss the types of online communication, netiquette, some general tips for communicating online, and some tips for communicating in discussion boards and email. To begin, synchronous and asynchronous are two types of online communication. Synchronous communication occurs at the same time. It's real time, but in different places. A telephone is an example of synchronous communication. Other examples include chat, video conferencing, Skype, and a whiteboard. You may be accustomed to using some of these tools to communicate with friends and family outside of an educational setting. Because synchronous communication involves being online during a specific time, your instructor will inform you in advance of a scheduled communication session. He or she may give you a question to consider before the session, or even assign you to a small group that you'll be communicating with in the session. Your instructor may also open up the synchronous communication tool for less structured events, such as online office hours or small group activities. Asynchronous communication occurs at different times and in different places, allowing you to communicate at your convenience rather than real time. Asynchronous activities allow each voice to be heard, whether you're participating in a small or large group. Some of the tools that you can use for asynchronous communication include email and discussion forums. You might also use social media such as Facebook, Twitter, or blogs. In order to ensure that your online communication is effective and appropriate, you can follow some general guidelines. Although you might be accustomed to using forms of electronic communication like text messaging or chat, communicating as part of a course involves a slightly different set of skills and conventions, commonly referred to as netiquette. Netiquette is essentially the use of courtesy and respect in the online environment. The reading for this module includes a set of core rules for proper online behavior. Remember, the other side of that email or that discussion post is a human. Consider whether or not you would say what you were typing to the other person if you were seeing them face to face. The online world truly is the real world, thus it's important to keep the same standards of behavior that you follow in your face-to-face world. It's important to keep in mind the context and audience of your message. Netiquette does vary depending on where you are in cyberspace. A post on a friend's Facebook page requires less formality than an email to your teacher. Try to be respectful of other people's time, keeping your messages direct and concise. Be mindful of your use of capital letters and offensive language. Using all capital letters can give the impression that you're shouting. And avoid offensive language or comments that attack the writer of a comment rather than his or her argument. Additionally, avoid personal attacks called flaming. If you read a message that you suspect might be a personal attack, resist the temptation to fire off a response. Instead, let your response sit a while before sending, or request that your instructor resolve the situation. Following netiquette is the first step to successfully communicating with your classmates and instructor online. In order to help you consider how online communication should occur in the classroom, keep in mind the 3 P's. Be prompt, polite, and professional. Remember to speak up. If you have a question or concern, ask. Look for a frequently asked question discussion board to ask questions or readings about readings or assignments. Participate. The most successful students log on regularly. Be sure to check your discussion boards, course mail, or announcements at least 5 days a week. Read carefully. Because an online course relies so much on the written material, many students have difficulty resisting the impulse to merely skim over the discussion postings or announcements. Be careful because this can lead to confusion or misunderstanding. Read everything carefully. When you're posting, you can use emoticons to add expression or emotions to your communication. They can help take place of that nonverbal communication that is missing in the online environment. Finally, be clear and concise. In most online courses, it is essential for students to participate meaningfully and thoughtfully. The quality of a comment is more important than the quantity. In addition to these general guidelines, you'll also want to keep in mind some key tips for communicating in the 2 most common communication channels in the online classroom: discussion forums and email. First, most faculty do ask students to contribute to a class discussion using the discussion forum in the learning management system. Remember to read the discussion prompt carefully. You may be asked to post an initial post and then a response to other students. Additionally, the instructor may require a specific length or quality of discussion. Keep in mind, most discussion forums are graded and count as classroom participation. I strongly suggest that you compose your answer in Word and then cut and paste into a discussion board. That way you'll have a copy in case something goes wrong with the technology. Also be sure to spell check and reread your posting before you upload it. While discussion boards should include proper use of grammar and spelling, that doesn't mean you can't use personal examples and be a little bit more informal. Personal examples are great ways to provide examples and demonstrate that you can relate a course concept to your everyday experiences. Some instructors may ask for examples as part of a prompt, but you can provide them to enrich your answer at any time. The key is to write meaningful responses. When communicating in discussions, you might be tempted to respond with "okay" or "I agree." These responses add little to the conversation. Your instructor might also have a list of discussion forum guidelines that set expectations regarding the length and content for your messages. In your responses, you can also refer to the course readings. Be sure to use quotes when using direct language from the reading to avoid issues of plagiarism. Plagiarism is when you present another person's words as if they're your own. If you are using direct quotes, you should indicate the author's name, the year of the text for the material, and the use of the quotes around the content that directly comes from the source. Sometimes discussions online can become a battle of perspectives. Avoid the tendency to prove that your point of view is the only right view. Keep in mind, students in your online classroom may come from different geographic areas of the United States and represent multiple cultures. Additionally, you may have international students in your class who have vast cultural differences. Try to focus on finding similarities such as your shared degree program or interests to make connections. Finally, always check to make sure your post was submitted. After you submit, surf out of the discussion board and then back in to make sure the post is still there. Sometimes technology just doesn't work correctly. In addition to the discussion boards, the other common communication tool you will use is email. First, provide a clear subject line, which includes your name, class, and section number. Also remember to update your subject line in responses if you're changing the focus of the communication. Be direct and to the point in your email exchanges. You can accomplish this by keeping paragraphs brief and easy to read. Remember to spell check and reread your message before you press send. Keep in mind, if you're upset about the topic of an email, to wait until you've calmed down, reread the message, and then send. It's easy to create additional unwanted conflict because you send off a quick email when you're upset. Be sure to always have a clear signature line with full name, email, and class information. Most faculty teach more than one class, and providing this information will be easier for the faculty member to respond to your question and concerns. Finally, be patient. Don't expect an immediate response. Most faculty will explain the timeline for response to an email. In general, most faculty indicate they will take up to 24 hours to respond. Firing off a series of questions about an assignment due within the next hour and expecting a response is just unrealistic. Remember to check the frequently asked question discussion boards, the syllabus and assignment descriptions, because many times your answer may already be there. You may just have missed it as you glanced over the materials. Having realistic expectation of faculty response time will make your online learning experience less frustrating. Communicating online presents its own challenges, but as this review indicates, there are some easy tips that you can follow to ensure that you present yourself professionally and appropriately in the online classroom.